heavy shelling in Kharkiv to the east, lots of intense fighting there. And then in the southeast, Mariupol is said to be very much under siege. We're expecting an update from him there. Now, moving on, we'll try and reconnect with Karl Bostic later in the program. At the UN General Assembly, they've approved a resolution that deplores Russia's Ukraine invasion while demanding an immediate halt to the attack. It was the first emergency session of the group since 1997. The vote on the resolution, entitled Aggression Against Ukraine, saw only 4 member states side with the Russian delegation, 141 voting in favor, a powerful indication of Russia's growing international isolation. 35 countries abstained, including China, India, and South Africa.
The General Assembly has spoken. As Secretary General, it is my duty to stand by this resolution and be guided by its call. The message of the General Assembly is loud and clear. End hostilities in Ukraine now, silence the guns now, open the door to dialogue and diplomacy now. The territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine must be respected in line with the UN Charter. We don't have a moment to lose. The brutal effects of the conflict are plain to see. But as bad as the situation is for the people in Ukraine right now, it threatens to get much, much worse. The ticking clock is a time bomb. Looking ahead, I will continue to do everything in my power to contribute to an immediate cessation of hostilities and urgent negotiations for peace. People in Ukraine desperately need peace, and people around the world.
More on this UN vote. Let's cross live and join Arise Editorial Director Nick Jennings. Good to see you, Nick. Let's talk about that UN overwhelming vote deploring Russia's invasion of Ukraine and calling for an immediate ceasefire. Clearly a global expression of outrage, but not a legally binding resolution.
Well, overwhelming, but not unanimous. And if you look at the details, although they condemned in the strongest terms the Russian Federation's invasion of Ukraine, it really has a hollow ring to it because it doesn't have any real meaning. There's nothing that the UN can do other than issue statements like that. You have to question that. I mean, after the Second World War, after the horrors of the Second World War, in which up to 80 million people died around the world, the UN was created just to stop the situation we're in now, where, according to many people, we're potentially on the verge of World War III. And the UN is there to stop that, but it seems to be what many people are saying. It's not a power broker that it should be. It's more like a toothless tiger or a toothless tabby cat. I mean, we saw several years ago in Syria how the UN failed to act to stop President Assad using chemical weapons on his own people. And it seems clear in this case that what can the UN do to stop Russia? It needs to take tough action, in my view, and in the view of many other people.
So basically you're saying, Nick, that this vote, beyond being a big diplomatic win, it's not going to stop Russia in its stride, is it?
Well, quite the opposite, I think. I mean, I think President Putin has sort of shrugged it off. He said in reported comments today when he was on the phone to President Macron of France that he's going to show no compromise if the talks on the Belarus border don't come to any fruition, that he's going to press on regardless with what the UN says and show no concern for it and increase the pressure on Ukraine to bow to his demands. And what is the UN doing? I mean, if anybody should be talking about putting some kind of no-fly zone above Ukraine to stop Russian jets coming in, the UN should be doing it, not just relying on NATO, who aren't going to do it, or the European Union, who aren't going to do it.
And that sort of brings me to the peace negotiations, Nick. The Russians saying they're open to those talks and have expressed a desire for a resolution to the situation in Ukraine. But I mean, have the demands of Moscow going into those talks shifted? And changed at all? Is there more optimism going into those negotiations?
Well, Putin says he wants his achievements to be the end of the military in Ukraine and the denazification of the country. He's sticking to that, according to all the comments. I mean, I think both sides didn't give an inch in the last meeting, but I suppose the positive sign is they're talking again. There is hints, as you said earlier, that the Ukrainians may be trying to bargain for some kind of humanitarian corridor and a ceasefire while more civilians are given the opportunity to leave the country. But what follows that, we don't know. I think that at least would be time for a pause and to reset, if you like. That would be a good sign. We'll have to see what comes out of the talks. But certainly both sides don't seem to be shifting their position. And the Ukrainian President Zelensky has been very, very determined in this and says that he's prepared to fight to the end and get the Russians out of his country.
Okay, Nick, for the moment, thanks very much indeed. Nick Jennings, Arise Editorial Director there, bringing us up to date with some of the developments around the conflict in Ukraine.